I, 27M, hurt the feelings of my girlfriend's 28F sister, 21F, while I was performing stand-up. Now my girlfriend won't talk to me. I'm a somewhat successful 27-year-old comic working my way up in the comedy scene in the city I'm living in. I'm dating a 28-year-old woman from here, and she is very supportive of my career as I am with hers. She has a 21-year-old little sister that I think is a spoiled sorority brat, but I very rarely see her, so I pay her very little mind. Just the other night, I was performing at a comedy club, and my girlfriend was coming to watch me perform. The night before the show, she informed me that her little sister was coming to the show with some friends. To me, this news was a possible red flag. To give some background, my girlfriend comes from a pretty affluent background where ritzy vacations and luxuries were the norm, whereas I come from quite the opposite. I come from a large family where we had to wear the busted pair of shoes for a little bit longer until the money was finally scraped together. For a lot of people, this difference could be a little intimidating, but it's never been a big issue. She is very level-headed, works hard, and never looks down on others not as fortunate as her or her family. Her sister, on the other hand, is quite the opposite. She goes to a university that is completely paid for, has all the niceties, and lets you know when you don't. She can get rude with people quite easily, especially when she's dealing with someone working a low-paid job or someone that she views as lower in status. Now, I've only acted as a silent observer to her behavior because I've only seen her a handful of times and I quite frankly didn't want to deal with her. When my girlfriend told me she was coming to watch me perform, I grew pretty alarmed. The people that I work with, and most of the comedy crowd, for that matter, is a pretty working-class group of people. They deal with hard truths and can laugh when they are made fun of. Whenever my girlfriend's sister gets put in similar situations, she definitely does not have the same reaction. In fact, she handles it just about as well as Vince Wilfork finding out the buffet closed. I also went with her and my girlfriend to a small concert at a bar, and she was rude and disrespectful to the performers the whole time. I told my girlfriend my concerns about her sister coming. She wouldn't enjoy herself, she would make a scene, or she would interrupt another comic's set, the ultimate sin. My girlfriend said it wouldn't be a problem. I buckled and said that she could come, but I would not be held liable for whatever happened in the club. I tend to be playful when shutting down hecklers, but I know the 3 other comics performing, and they are definitely not. I have a 3-strike rule, but they swing like goddamn Sammy Sosa on the first pitch. She agreed, and that was that until the next day. We met the sister and friends beforehand and went to the club. The first comic was a lady I know, and she was spot on that night. She's by no means a pretty woman, so the girls started making sly comments to each other about it until I told them to cut it out, which they did. I then went backstage to the green room, but from the little bits I saw and heard, they were on fairly good behavior. Then my set happened. My first 6 or 7 minutes started out really well. The crowd was great and I felt in the zone. I then started working through a bit about North Face being tacky, and this proved to be the catalyst for the sister and her friends. They started talking loudly in the back, to which I told them to stop. I looked to my girlfriend to corral them in and provide some silent reinforcements. Those reinforcements never came. About 2 minutes later, I was working through a piece about being hairy, to which the sister made a comment. At this point, I noticed she and her friends had put down quite a few drinky poos, so basically I started making fun of them being sloppy drunks. This shut them up for a little bit. I then had a piece about my mom, to which the little sister basically made a loud comment about my mom being a slut. She threw a 3rd pitch, and I choked up on the bat and began to swing away like Joaquin Phoenix in a room full of Marvin the Martians. I called her out for being a petulant rich girl, made fun of her appearance, and ended up calling her cunt druncula. The crowd was really into it, so I was eventually able to cut off the set with some grace, but I was livid. When the crowd left and the lights went up, the sister came up to me and started getting in my face. I walked back into the green room and asked the bouncer to take care of it, and she eventually left with her friends. As I saw my girlfriend afterwards, she seemed a little upset. I told her that I was furious that she didn't help me out with controlling her sister. She asked why I was so upset whenever the set went so well. I think there was a little passive aggression in the question. I told her that even though that set went well, if a heckler catches me on a night where I'm not on my game, it fucks my entire performance. We eventually cut the conversation and drove home. The next day, my girlfriend's sister left a message for my girlfriend in tears about how the night went. She was upset at the things I said and wanted an apology. I told my girlfriend that was not going to happen and I deserved an apology. Even though the sister doesn't view what I do as a job, that is my livelihood. If I pulled a similarly disruptive stunt in someone else's place of work, I would most likely be arrested. My girlfriend did not take to this well and hasn't talked to me for the last 2 days besides small talk at dinner. I think she may be upset about the rich girl comments I made to her sister. To be honest, I do get a little resentful when I hear the stories of my girlfriend's life of affluence growing up, but I never bring this up, and I never try to make her feel pity for the way I grew up. My question is, what should be the next course of action? I refuse to even look at her sister until she brings an apology with her, but I love my girlfriend, and not talking to her is killing me. How should I handle this nightmare of a situation?